Hello, I'm Heather.
And I'm Ryan.
Welcome to the podcast. It's game night, it's sibling rivalry, it's a walk down memory lane, but most importantly, it's politics free.
Guaranteed.
Welcome to round 9, Your Worst Nightmare. Here's how it works. We have a set of cards. On each one is written a nightmare. We'll pick 4 cards, and Ryan will have to place them in the correct order, according to what he thinks my worst nightmare is. Then we'll flip it around, and it'll be my turn. Whoever scores the most points wins the ever-coveted Gloating Rights Trophy until...
we play again.
Yes. So the current running score is Ryan 44, Heather 31.
Heather?
I figured out the math. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
If you score 2 points or more at any point in the next 2 episodes, you win the game. Doesn't matter. There's nothing I can do to catch up.
Okay, well, that makes me feel a lot better because I know I will get at least 2.
I think you'll get at least 2. I have to basically skunk you. If I want to win, I have to get all of them right, and you have to get all of them wrong for 2 episodes running.
Okay.
I mean, it could happen.
It could happen, and it might happen because I struggled with your cards this time.
I can dream. Every time you say that, you get them all right. I should actually go back and keep a tally of every time you've been like, I don't think I did it. And then you aced it.
Okay.
All right. You ready for these cards?
I'm ready.
All right. We've got taxes, old houses, the unknown, toilets overflowing. That's taxes. Old houses, the unknown, toilets, overflowing. What's my order?
Okay, number 4, old houses.
Incorrect.
Son of a bitch. Number 3, the unknown.
Incorrect.
Okay, number 2, toilets overflowing.
Incorrect.
And number 1, taxes.
Incorrect. I am pleased as punch right now. I don't know how long that's going to last, but I'm off to a great start here.
Okay, let me go find my cards. Okay, are you ready for your cards, Heather?
Well, hold on. Let me tell everybody. So here's what my order actually is.
Yes.
So my actual order is number 4, the unknown. Number 3, old houses. Number 2, taxes. Number 1, toilets overflowing.
I had a feeling old houses and the unknown were switched.
I kind of like the unknown because then I can learn about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not afraid of the unknown because I always feel like there's a learning experience. We don't really have trouble with taxes. Like, we've always been able to pay our taxes. You know, we don't have a whole...
But it's the fact of having to pay taxes.
Yeah, and I guess...
Like, I would rather handle an overflowing toilet than paying taxes.
You know, you're right about that. I guess because Mike always does the taxes, I don't really think about the taxes. Can I be honest? That's the true story right there. But I have had to deal with too many overflowing toilets in my life, and so that got the number 1 spot for me.
So just out of curiosity, do you know the little trick to stopping the toilet from overflowing?
Turn the water off?
Yeah, there's that. Yes, turn the water off. And if you're struggling with that knob and it's a tank toilet, you can take the lid off and just pick that little floaty up.
Oh.
And it'll stop the water from flowing.
That is useful information to know. Typically, the overflowing toilets I've had to deal with had already, like, it wasn't like I flushed and it was overflowing. It was like I walked into a bathroom and I was like, awesome, there's a toilet overflowing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a situation.
My first apartment was a little, not townhouse, a little studio apartment. And I did my morning routine and went to the bathroom last thing and flushed the toilet and left. And went to work. And then I came back and my apartment was open. I was like, what's going on? And there was maintenance trying to stop this overflowing toilet that just was overflowing all day.
Oh my God.
And it was like leaking down into their basement It was like into their.
Oh.
That's how they found out that it was overflowing, because they went down to their basement to do stuff, and there was water coming out.
That is wild.
It wasn't as bad as it could have been, I suppose, because by the time I got home, they pretty much had it all sorted out. But I had a very wet carpet right outside of my bathroom.
I think we all have to know, was it a duty?
It was.
Oh, no. Oh, that's the worst.
It was my morning skinny.
All right. Hit me with those cards, bro.
All right, Heath. Are you ready to kick my ass on this one?
I doubt I'm going to do that. I seriously doubt that I'm going to get any of these right. Please continue.
You got volcanoes, disorder and chaos, teenagers, and death. That's volcanoes, disorder and chaos, teenagers, and death.
Okay. In the 4 spot, I put disorder and chaos.
Incorrect.
3, teenagers.
Incorrect.
2, death.
Correct.
1, volcanoes.
Incorrect.
Wow, I got 1. So I think that means I just officially lost your worst nightmare. I think I just officially lost with that.
Really?
But we're going to play the whole thing anyway. Now
All
the
right,
pressure's off and I can just have fun.
Oh, okay.
'Cause
Awesome.
I was having no fun before. Anyway.
So I put my number 4 is teenagers.
Okay.
Number 3, volcanoes. Number 2, death. And number 1, order and chaos. Disorder and chaos.
I thought you were quite comfortable with disorder and chaos. It's
No.
like your middle name. It's like Ryan Disorder
no.
and Chaos.
I get overwhelmed very easily.
Really?
But I can deal with it, but it's highly uncomfortable and I don't like it. But I can deal with it and I can operate in it,
Okay.
but it's not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
I put that as number 1 because number 2, I put number 2 as death because I just accept that death is a thing and it's going to happen eventually one way or another. I've accepted that's just the way of life. I,
Sure.
however, cannot accept disorder and chaos because it drives me crazy. And I get frustrated really easily.
I just feel like volcanoes should have been higher. What if you're standing at the foot of one when it erupts? Then where's
And then I'm
volcano?
gonna die, and that's that. I won't be alive long enough to really worry about it.
All right. I mean, I guess I see your point there in a morbid sort of way. Let's move on.
All right,
Are you ready for your next set of cards?
I am.
All right. Tearing scabs open. Water. Black cats. Body odor. That's tearing scabs open. Water. Black cats. Body odor.
Pretty sure these first 2 are reversed, but I'm gonna go for it. So number
All right.
4,
Mm-hmm.
black cats.
Correct.
Awesome. Number 3, water.
Correct.
Number 2, tearing scabs open.
Correct.
Number 1, I almost said 4. Number 1, body odor.
You nailed it. You nailed it.
Yes.
You know, I'm seriously considering our next game being one where we can't keep score. Let's continue.
Okay.
There'll be no scores.
All right. Just participation trophies for everybody.
Everybody. Especially
okay.
me. I definitely get one for this.
So, you know, that reminds me of Little League back in the day.
Uh-huh.
I went to this summer camp baseball league thing. I was probably 12, and I was like with a bunch of older kids that were like 14, 15 years old, and they were all really good at baseball. And I was just like, was there for 2 days, and I was like, yeah, nah, nope. And I just quit. And I told Dad I didn't want to do it. And I got a certificate in the mail at the end of summer for participating in baseball camp. And I was like, I really didn't earn this, but you know what? I'll take it.
Did you frame it and put it on your wall?
I didn't. I don't know what I did with it. I didn't keep it. I think I've talked about the martial arts trophy that I got.
Have you? I don't remember that.
So back in the day when we took Modoc Pi, I got to like orange belt, which is like one above no belt.
Mm-hmm.
But we went to this martial arts tournament, and I was the only kid in my age range and belt class. So they paired me up with another kid who was older and bigger, who was the only kid in his age range and his belt class, but he was a belt below me.
Okay.
And I got a block in, so I scored 1 point, but he just annihilated me. And since it was just the two of us, he got a first place trophy, and I got a second place trophy. And then all my other friends who had to face off with a bunch of different people, one of them got first place and the other one got second place. And I'm sitting there with my second place trophy, and I'm like, I really didn't earn this, but I feel like a badass.
Oh my gosh.
Alrighty. All right, Heather, are you ready for...
Yes.
Okay.
My last cards for this round.
Yes. You got eating expired food, driving in reverse, drones, and driving next to big trucks. That's eating expired food, driving in reverse, drones, and driving next to big trucks.
Okay, here's what I did. Driving in reverse, number 4.
Incorrect.
Drones, 3.
Incorrect.
Eating expired food, 2.
Incorrect.
Driving next to big trucks. Why do I even try?
Incorrect. I put number 4, drones.
Uh-huh.
Number 3, driving in reverse.
Uh-huh.
Number 2, driving next to big trucks. And number 1, eating expired food.
I wondered about that one because I know that expiration date on things is kind of bogus. Like, right. Usually you can eat anything past its expiration date and it's still fine. So yeah. I didn't know if it meant the expiration date or you can look at it and go, oh, yeah, no, that's gone.
The way I thought about that was actually eating something that's actually expired.
I gotcha.
So there's been times where like I'm just like, hey, this is still good, and like take a bite and nope. And then next thing I know, I want to vomit everywhere.
When you eat a whole slice of steak and cheese pizza from a gas station store, a couple of hours later, what might happen is that you might start feeling very nauseated. And you might be with your child in the middle of a park in a public place, and you might not have unlocked bathrooms anywhere, and you might not want to throw up right there. So you might hold it all the way the entire drive home over a half an hour. And then you might, as you open the van door, spew all over the garage and think, thank God I didn't do that in the van. And then you might spend the next 6 hours alternately or simultaneously with the worst diarrhea you've ever had and puking, so much puking that you can't puke anything out anymore because nothing left. And by the way, that diarrhea smells like the worst rotting fish in the world. Theoretically, all of this might happen to you if you were to eat a slice of steak and cheese pizza from a gas station store.
That is very oddly specific, Heather.
Thanks, Ryan. By the way, I also have a little drone story. Stop me if you've heard it or if I've said it on the podcast. I can't remember if I said it on the podcast, but I was on the beach one day. We live by the Great Lakes and there's this like really rocky beach. And so I was there with my daughter one day and she was throwing rocks in the water like she likes to. And suddenly this drone just comes down and like hovers near us and its camera is pointed towards us. And I was like, hi, drone. And it didn't leave. And it kept just hovering around, pointing the camera at us from all different angles. And I started to feel like my privacy was being violated.
Mhm.
So I picked up a rock off of the beach and I
Hell
looked at the drone with the rock in my hand and a pointed look on my face. And the drone decided it was done and it flew away. But that was super annoying. I was like, if it had come near me, I would have just grabbed it and been like, you want a piece of me? I will break you. And there would have been some pissed off kid on the other side of that.
I would have just thrown the rock.
I was embarrassed that I might not be able to actually hit the drone with the rock. So I didn't want it to get ballsy and be like, oh, she can't throw Earth crap and still hang around as I chuck rocks at it, missing it.
It would have been hilarious. And they're like dodging and weaving. They're like, yeah.
All right, let's see here. Score-wise, what are we at now? So Ryan scored 5 points. No. 4 points. And I scored 1 point. So Ryan, you're at 49. I'm at 32. I've lost the game. Still a whole nother episode of it coming. Yay!
Hey, but you know what? You could also not lose horribly. You could nail it.
If I skunk you next episode, I will not lose horribly. If I do anything less, I lose horribly.
Yes, you do.
Now it's time for research inspired by this week's game. So I thought we'd talk about taxes. Nope, just kidding. That's boring.
Oh my God, Heather. Oh my God.
I had a half an hour dissertation on taxes. I thought we'd keep with our superstition theme from last week and do black cats, a history.
Okay.
So here's a little theory on the history of how it came to be that black cats are considered bad luck. In 1233, the year 1233, on June 13th, which was a Monday, even though I wanted it really badly to be a Friday, Pope Gregory IX issued Vox in Rama, which is like, I guess, supposed to translate loosely to God's word, the Pope giving God's word or something. We're not Catholic. Sorry if anyone's yelling at us like, that's not what it means. But anyway, in it, black cats were declared an incarnation of Satan. That was also the beginning of the Inquisition and all that jazz, and the witch hunts and everything. So that's possibly where it came from. Also, I guess in the early persecution of witches or people that were said to be witches, some of them maybe owned black cats.
Interesting.
Another one is that it arose in Europe in the Middle Ages because they were seen as pests because so many grew up within the cities. Yeah. Although that I would think would be cats in general, not just black cats. But anyways, that's what the internet told me. And here I found out something interesting and new about black cats, which is that in some cultures, they are actually considered good luck. Such as in Welsh folklore, where black cats would bring good luck to your home and be a sign of good weather to come. In Japan and a lot of Asia, black cats will bring a woman many good suitors.
Oh.
In China, they are considered to be able to ward off evil. There is even apparently an English superstition that says if you give a bride a black cat on her wedding day, that will bring her good luck.
Interesting.
And apparently in theater, a black cat in the audience on opening night is considered good luck. In the south of France, if you respect a black cat, it will bring you wealth and good fortune.
Just the south of France?
Yeah, probably that's what it said, south of France. So if you're in the north of France, maybe avoid black cats. That might be bad for you. But if you're in the south of France, it's great. Have a sty in your eye? Rub it with the tail of a black cat.
That sounds like a bad idea.
Sounds like a terrible, terrible idea. That cat's going to be like, scratch you across the face.
I got a sty in my eye. Just going to rub it with this dirty tail.
I think that one's from France too, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, I thought that was kind of neat. But what I find more interesting are this week's stories from Reddit. Although I would love to not have to get stories from Reddit and that listeners would send them in. So if you've got a story that you're reminded of while listening to this episode, please send it to us. Email us, thepoliticsfreepodcast@outlook.com. DM me on Instagram @thepoliticsfreepodcast. We love to know. All right, here we go.
Yes.
I decided to get old house stories, which are basically just ghost stories. Let's do this. From Bandy53. We live in a 150-year-old farmhouse. The first week we lived here, my iPhone was sitting 5 or 6 feet away from me. Hadn't been touched in a while, like 20 minutes or more, and Siri just said, "You are in my realm." There was no history of the phone saying this or of any activity. A few months later, my cat woke me up, waited at the foot of my bed, and kept meowing until I got out of the bed. She went to the top of the stairs and waited until I followed. I followed her downstairs, and she just sat in the middle of the room. I checked a few things to make sure something hadn't caught fire or whatever, while she just sat in the middle of the room looking up the staircase. The house was so quiet it was eerie and disturbing. Usually something makes a noise in this place. I turned around to go upstairs and thought I stood in something wet and bent over to check, but it was just a weird spot that was so cold I thought my socks were wet. When I stood up, I felt a hand on my right shoulder. Nobody was there. Doors occasionally open, and TV remotes constantly go missing. We've lost, I think, 5 now and have never found one. Every single piece of furniture has been removed from the TV room during renovations, so it's not like something ended up in a void under the couch. 2 years ago, I was at a flea market and bumped into a former coworker I hadn't seen in quite a while, who ended up living just around the corner. She pointed at a couple and said to go introduce myself, as they lived in our house in the 80s. I introduced myself, said I lived in their old house, and they immediately asked how the ghost was doing. Apparently, it had a thing for TV remotes back then as well. And I love some of the comments on this one. One person said, "Time to buy a cheap tracking tile for $10 off Amazon and slap that on a remote. Then see where it ends up."
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I was going to say, and I want to say this before someone says it in the comments, but I was expecting the cat to be like, "You're in my realm now."
Nobody said that, so you're good. These are all just remote related. I thought they were funny. One person said, "Tie the remote to the couch and see how pissed your ghost gets." And then a third comment, "Have you asked the spirit to not steal the remotes? Sometimes they listen." Hey.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah. And then, I mean, there were like a majillion of these, but I just picked another one that I thought was kind of great. I was staying in an apartment over an old theater in a mining town. Apartment was easily 60 feet above the street. Woman, blue-hued, in a long dress, just appears in my peripheral vision. I turn to look, and she does the same. We meet eyes while she pauses there watching me. She then walks across the room and out the front wall of the apartment, over the street. I look out the window, and nothing. I'm like, I need sleep. I mentioned this to the owner, and he explains there was a balcony there, but it was lost in a fire decades ago where a woman died trying to escape the fire. Now it's a solid wall where a doorway was. He just added, "Long blue dress?" Like, bro, things you could have mentioned in the housing ad.
Do you remember Dad's ghost story?
No.
When he was in LA, he was sleeping soundly and woke up one day to, as he describes, 2 ghosts looking grotesque standing at the foot of his bed. And I had to ask what he meant by looking grotesque, but he's like all skeletal with like skin hanging off and stuff. Mm-hmm. And he said to them, "Give me a break," and then rolled over and went back to sleep.
He was not scared by those fuckers. Nice try, assholes. What if that was like some prankster, like thieves? What if that was murderers?
Could have been.
And they're like, "Oh, I guess he's not scared. We'll go murder someone else today." I don't know. Now let's do the question of the week. What was something you thought would be a good idea, but was a terrible idea when you actually did it?
Trying to use a garbage bag as a parachute and jumping off of the shed in the backyard.
Agreed. And then when you did it wrong, I was like, probably I should do it because I'll do it right. And it still was a disaster. The other one the one I thought of was when we would do these baking experiments when we were kids. I don't know how Mom tolerated this. We'd be like, put any ingredient you want in it. We're going to make a loaf of bread. And we'd like bake our loaf of, quote, bread. And it would be this like waxy, jiggly, weird, non-edible substance at the end that tasted terrible. They were horrible.
I don't understand. I'm in the same boat with you. I do not know how Mom and Dad, for that matter, tolerated that. But I guess the kitchen was kind of Mom's domain anyway, so Dad probably just didn't care. But
yeah. But I just remember Mom always being super patient with just letting us throw whatever we wanted and like waste
and cooking
all
it in
of
the oven.
Stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And it was nasty every time. Gross. I thought, you know what I thought one time? I was like, we should make a pancake loaf. Because pancakes are great. They're fluffy and wonderful. That should be in a loaf of bread. But I could never figure out how to do that. It just was like a solid blob every time of nastiness.
I bet you there's a recipe online for that.
Well, I'd look into it, but I doubt there's anything on the keto diet that is going to be light and fluffy. Let's just be honest.
That's fair.
Yeah. And I think that is all we got for this week. Thanks for listening. Remember to send us your stories and share the podcast. We love it when you share, because then more people can listen and have a fun time with us. And last but not least, if you want to play the game Your Worst Nightmare, it is by Pressman. Go to PressmanToy.com and search Your Worst Nightmare, or go to the show notes of this episode or any of the episodes of this game that we played, and there's a link right to the product on their website. They are not a sponsor. And I think that's all we got. Until
we...
Oh, you were actually going to do it. I'll shut up. Go ahead.
Until we play again.
Toodles. Okay.
Worry about volcanoes?
I have to just cut you off there. Okay?
Okay.
I've edited this out of almost every episode, and I'm not going to do it this time. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1.
What
you
what
went
did I
4,
say?
2. 4, 2.
I'm sorry.
Let's take it from the top.